so helpful and so supportive. And now I'm coming, because in all of the time that I've served in the United States at Congress, we have an election just of enormous importance and consequence. Perhaps the most important election of my lifetime. And now we know next Tuesday, the eyes of the country are going to be looking at California, and going to be looking at each and every one of you here in Northern California, in Oakland, East Bay, are all going to be looking and seeing what that message is. Seeing what that message is for the people here, whether they really care about their families, whether they care about their community, whether they care about the state and care about our nation. And it is of that immense importance that we gather together to give consideration to really an extraordinary candidate. I feel change in the air. Do you feel change in the air? I think I know your candidate. And I hope you know mine. You know, and looking out at this audience, I remember back, thinking of 50 years, I can remember back almost like it was yesterday to that extraordinary time in the early 1960s. It was the time of Dr. King. It was the time that a new generation had come back from fighting in World War II. It was just only a few years after the Brown versus Board of Education case was decided. We know that our founding fathers failed in a very important way when they wrote slavery into the Constitution. We remember that this nation fought a civil war in order to try and free ourselves from that slavery. Made some progress, but didn't really complete the job. And then we know, with the brilliance of a Dr. Martin Luther King, who awakened the conscience of this nation in the 1950s, coming into the 1960s, being there at the time at the Lincoln Memorial, where he challenged this nation, and the nation responded, young and old alike, saying, we want to knock down the walls of discrimination permanently in this country. And finally, as a result of his extraordinary leadership, we found the Congress and this country moved, and we knocked down the walls of discrimination and public accommodation. We knocked them down in 1965 in terms of voting rights, 1968 in terms of housing. And you know what else came along with those? We knocked down the walls of discrimination on the basis of gender, on women. Women were brought back into this society, and we made important progress. We haven't solved all of the progress. We still don't have pay equity. We haven't knocked down all of the progress, but we made progress. And you know what else happened? You know those echoes that were out there during that time? You know what else we did? Is we knocked down the walls against those that discriminated against the disabled.